Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again on a Tuesday from a different location. As you can see behind me, I'm in Las Vegas. That's the New York, New York. I have right next to me over here is a T-Mobile Center. I got Allegiant Stadium in my view. This is the best view I could get out of this. So it's basically what I got right now, but not a bad view. I mean, I'm sure you can see it a little more if I turn it over, but that's my full window right there. So, yeah, I'm having a good time here in Vegas for my birthday. As I said, I'm out here for the week, and my wife is having a good time with me here as well. Always making things happen for me, so I appreciate her for that. We have some good friends of ours. Shout out to Ray and Dulce for coming out and hanging out with us and making it a good time. Last night was probably the funnest night we've had here. It's been it was probably the funnest night I've had in a long time. We laughed to no end. My face hurt. We were crying, laughing at one point in time. Just having a good time, walking around, bar hopping and drinking, and just having fun. So I appreciate that. It was a great way to spend the night. The night before we went pretty hard too. The first night I went pretty hard, and that's what happens when I come to Vegas. The first night's always rough. So I woke up yesterday morning with a pretty bad headache and a little bit of a hangover, but it's to be expected. And I kicked it quickly, hair of the dog. We got it going early with the Twisteds and had some old fashions, and it's been a good time. So, as you can tell, don't have the usual setup. Unfortunately, we're not going to have any visuals. It's just going to be talking head shit right now because that's what I got. I got to work with what I got. It's the easiest thing to do. I have a setup that I've kind of brought with me, but it's been so busy that I just haven't really had the time to be able to set everything up. We had a little mishap on the way here, so I'm lucky and grateful to have my stuff still work because it was raining quite a bit. We went through a crazy storm and driving here because I did drive here, and we had our stuff because our friends drove down with us and they're flying back tomorrow. So have a bag, a weatherproof bag that it was up on top of the roof. Never had a problem with it before. Strapped it all down correctly and zipped it all up. It's got extra protection. Somehow or another, water got in, and some of our stuff in our bags got a little soaked. And there was some moisture on my laptop and stuff. I was freaking out, thinking that and my stream deck might be fucked up, but it wasn't. And I just let it sit out overnight that first night and made sure that everything was good. Woke up, checked it, everything's fine. Let's knock on some wood and make sure that nothing changes for that. So I have a quick little setup here. I'm grateful and lucky to have my phone that records great video. I have these mics, these Hollyland Lark A1s, I think they're called. I bought these for pretty cheap during Amazon's little deal days. So they're great if you want something quick and easy that you can stick in your pocket and be able to bust out and use easily with your phone. So check those out if you want a little bit of gear, heads up and tips. But I have this cool little tripod I keep on my phone now. Um, Doubles as a handle slash all kinds of shit. Tripod, little kickstand, all kinds of stuff. So that's a Ulanzi MA60, it says on it. Yeah. And that thing's pretty cool too. So then I have my little light that I use as a fill light at home on top of my camera. So yeah, and I'm just using my laptop here, which thankfully still works. But I'm using that as for my references. So we're just gonna go through the fights real quick. Quick recap of this past weekend at UFC Rio with Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. Pretty good fight there. We'll get to that here in just a second. But I got to give a shout out to my sponsor as usual, Noctane Smelling Salts. There's always a link in the description below. I don't have the QR codes, no visuals this time. So I'm just going to take a quick whiff, get it going like I always do. A little bit of, normalcy, getting back to home time. Here we go. Oh, delayed reaction. There it is. Oh, man, I took a big whiff of this morning, which I needed it because I'm a little bit tired. Ooh, that shit works when you're feeling tired and in Vegas after having a hangover and everything. Wasn't too hungover this morning, but dragging a little bit. But yeah, we've had a great time so far. and my friends coming out and hanging out with us too. They're leaving tomorrow, so my wife and I have a couple days of just quality time and hanging out, doing things we haven't got to do yet. But Vegas is always a good time for us, and we love coming here. So, I mean, we had our honeymoon here. That's how much we love it. So, as you can tell, at least we have a cool backdrop. And yeah, we're just going to get going on this recap and just make sure that I get a little bit of content out there. So, I appreciate you if you're watching this video. Make sure you hit that like button below. I'm going to try to do a preview of UFC Vancouver, which is coming up this weekend, headlined with Brendan Allen versus, why am I forgetting? No Canadians are at the top of for the main event. I'll get to it in a minute. It'll come to me. You got to forgive me. I've had a few days of drinking in me, but it's been fun. So, wanted to get to this recap real quick and talk about that. There were some fights that were announced by Dana White. So, wanted to get through this real fast and just give you a little video with some content going out there. I did post a short for the fights coming up this weekend. So, if you want to go check that out, if you don't have that notification bell selected, make sure you do that and subscribe as well, obviously. And then, like I said, take a quick second, hit that like button. It helps out my video to get out there and helps the channel out. So I'd appreciate it if you do that. And thanks for sticking with me. I know it's tough when people miss, time and are not as consistent as usual. So I appreciate you if you're here watching and checking out my stuff still. So let's get into this recap real quick of UFC Rio. And I miss my music. I don't have my music going. This is the second time I started this video because I realized I had my earbud in, and my earbud will take over from the mic. So I'm glad that I was able to, have that, to realize that and get started again. Otherwise, you'd be hearing the shitty quality sound from the microphones, from the earbuds, which they're not that bad. It's just they're not as good as these little mics. So I'm glad that I have these. Hopefully you're not hearing the AC in the background or nothing. They do have noise canceling, so I'm hoping any little noises in the background aren't coming through. So yeah, let's get this going. UFC Rio. No music, no visuals. This feels very funky, but I have a light set up in front of me, as you can tell. So at least I got a little bit of light. That backdrop is cool, though. I like that. Just shooting out the window feels nice. So a little change up every once in a while is always good. But starting off at the bottom of the card, we had Luan Lizardo versus Simon Oliveira. I did get to watch this fight. I watched a few of the fights here and there because it was tough trying to get to all of it. You know what I mean? Because Saturday was rough getting everything ready to come out here. We left Sunday morning early, so I didn't have a ton of time to be able to watch every single minute of every single fight. But it was a pretty decent night of fights. A lot of finishes, not a lot of decisions, and even the ones that were decisions were decent fights as well. So let's get to this. Luan Lizardo versus Lacerda versus Simon Oliveira. And from what I remember, this fight, a lot of grappling and wrestling going on, jiu-jitsu, and Lacerda was able to get a submission in the second round over Simon Oliveira. It was a fun fight while it lasted. Like I said, second round, 3 minutes and 55 seconds in, so we got almost through the whole second round. But Luan Lizardo is able to come up on the win by submission, by armbar, which, it was a fun fight to watch too. So that one was your first fight of the night in the men's. It was a catch weight at 144 because I think Oliveira missed weight, which is tough. That's a big weight miss right there, but they kept the fight on, and Lacerda was able to get the win even though he was battling that extra weight on Oliveira. So he moves up to 13-3. Oliveira moves down to 18-7. Next up, we had Julia Pilastri versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Oh my gosh, man. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she's at that point where I think she needs to call it a day with fighting. She just doesn't seem to have it anymore. She's not as sharp and as quick or powerful as she used to be. She was always a contender, but maybe the girls have just came up and gotten a lot better nowadays. Maybe that's the thing, or maybe she's just lost a step. But she got beat up in this fight, pretty good. It went to the third round, 2 minutes and 56 seconds in. Julia Pilastri was able to get the TKO win by head kick and then punches, and she got the performance of the night bonus for this one against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and she gets the win to move herself up to 14-5. Karolina Kowalkiewicz moves down to 16-10. I just don't think she has a whole lot left for this division, much less, you know, this sport. Maybe, I don't know. She's just always never been able to pull all the way through and get things together to really, you know, make a run for that title. She's fought for it. I don't know. Has she fought for it? She might have fought for it once. I think she did against Joanna, but she just doesn't seem to have what it takes to be able to push over that edge and get to that championship level. Fighting for the title is one thing, but winning it at least once is a whole different thing. And a lot of people can get there, but not everybody can pull through and get the win. And she hasn't been able to. And I feel like she's lost a step, and it's just that time. I could be wrong about some of this, but that's just what I'm seeing from what I watched in that fight. How she looked after was bad. She got beat up. She got beat up bad. So, but Julia Pilastri has a good future ahead of her, and she is now 2-2 in the UFC. She looked really good. That's a good name to get a win over with a bonus, and I feel like she's just getting better. So we'll see what comes for her next. Next up, we had the first decision of the night, Lucas Rocha versus Stuart Nickel. And we had Lucas Rocha getting the win by unanimous decision there in the men's flyweight division. Yeah, 125. Didn't get to really see a whole lot with that one. It seemed like it was a decent fight, but nothing too crazy coming out of that one. The women come back up on the next fight. Bia Mesquita making her UFC debut versus Irina Alekseeva. And this one, I think Alekseeva she was an underdog, a big underdog over Bia Mesquita. And Mesquita gets a performance of the night win with this rear naked choke submission in the second round. Mesquita was 5-0 coming into this, so she was a heavy favorite, a huge favorite, minus 650 coming into this. Alekseeva has shown some, decent work in the UFC. I think she's had a couple fights. She's 1-3 now in the UFC. Her first fight, she seemed good, but she's come up short on her next 3 fights. So she's now on a 3-fight losing streak, and that's always tough when you're in the UFC, getting 3 losses in a row. We'll see what comes up with her. But Bia Mesquita seems like she's got some good talent. She's a bigger girl. She's got some power and really good submissions. And I feel like she was able to throw Alekseeva around a little bit and was able to get the win. So she remains undefeated with her first UFC fight, getting the big win by rear naked choke in the second round. It's always good to get that finish when you are debuting in the UFC. Next up, we had let's see, hold on. So far, that is 1, 2, 3, 4 fights down, and all being won by Brazilians. Now, the first fight was Brazilian versus Brazilian, so, I mean, somebody was bound to win being from Brazil, but, so far, 4 fights in, we get 4 wins by Brazilians, and next up we have Vitor Petrino, a Brazilian, versus Thomas Peterson, and once again, we get the win by the Brazilian, coming up with a big win here. Third round finish by KO, 26 seconds in. Vitor Petrino gets the performance of the night bonus with a nasty, nasty uppercut to Thomas Peterson. And it was the most awkward, crazy KO that we've seen in a while. Remember, what's his name? Johnny Walker, when I think it was Jamal Hill knocked him out, and he did this whole flailing. I know I've said it before, I've done it, the flailing of the arms, and he lays backwards and it's all weird and awkward. This was like the opposite of that. Vitrino uppercutted him and he literally face planted, but he did this weird herky jerky, just face down, and it was a nasty knockout, but it was a fun one to watch. Like I said, made it to the third round, 26 seconds in. Vitor Petrino gets the KO win over Thomas Peterson with an impressive KO. Man, it was a good one. You definitely got to go watch the highlights of that at least, because it was crazy the way that he knocked him out. So 5-0 for the Brazilians. Moving into the sixth fight, we got Brazilian Rafael Filho versus Clayton Carpenter. Filho was the slight favorite in this one. It was near even going in, so, it looked to be a good fight coming into it. It didn't make it past the first round. The Brazilians come up again. Rafael Filho gets the submission by Kimura in 4 minutes 42 seconds of the first round. So he moves up to 17-4 to get that win over Clayton Carpenter. Hands him his second loss in his career. And yeah, the Brazilians are 6-0. So that was Rafael Filho versus Clayton Carpenter. 6-0 for the Brazilians. Then we finally get a loss from the Brazilians coming up in the next fight in the prelims, which is the last one, the featured prelim. Michael Aswell versus Lucas Almeida. Lucas Almeida, I think, was the fighter that I kept seeing stuff being posted about him possibly having... What the hell was that sound? Why is it when I'm always in a hotel room, some kind of crazy sound happens and I get fucking like weirded out? That was weird. Usually I have a backdrop behind me and shit though, and I have my back to the door. Not this time. I'm looking at the door, so it might have just been somebody else slamming the door, but I heard some weird... It almost sounded like somebody was trying to come in. That was weird. It's all good though. We're good. But we had the first loss from the Brazilians in this featured prelim fight, where we had Michael Aswell versus Lucas Almeida. And I was saying Lucas Almeida, it looked like he had a broken hand or something from the pictures that were circulating coming from the weigh-ins. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. I know I saw that picture a lot. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't been on everything much because I've been caught up just hanging out in Vegas and having a good time. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I apologize. But from what I was seeing, either way, we get a first round finish from Michael Aswell to be the first non-Brazilian to get a win on this card, ending off the prelims. A minute and 42 seconds into the first round, he gets a TKO by punches over Lucas Almeida in the men's featherweight division. So we get an American getting the first win outside of Brazilians, and that leads us into the main card, which continues on the losing streak for the Brazilians because they got the first one in the last prelim. They were undefeated up until then, and then we get to the first fight of the main card, which was Con Ofli versus Ricardo Ramos. And Ramos is the Brazilian in this one, but he got submitted by standing rear naked choke by Con Ofli in the first round, 3 minutes and 2 seconds in. This fight I was watching, and Ramos actually had him almost finished in earlier on in the round, and Con Ofli just was able to... I think he got a reversal on a takedown, and then was able to get into the dominant position and work his way into getting that, getting the dominant position, basically, to get back up. And then Ofli, let's see, were they down? I can't remember now. Man, it feels like so long ago that I watched these fights. But either way, they wind up back up on their feet. Con Ofli gets the standing rear naked choke because he jumps on his back and is able to choke him out on the feet. So I'm going around in circles here, but I'm trying to remember everything. I don't have it, when I don't have everything going, I'm a little bit off. But it is what it is. Small price to pay. Hopefully, like I said, I just wanted to get something out here and recap things and be able to still do a little bit, somewhat of a show. So, moving on though, we had Mario Pinto versus Jonata Diniz, and Pinto was, this one was a near even matchup as well. They were both at -115, -105, but Pinto hands the Brazilians a third loss in a row in this fight in the heavyweight division. Mario Pinto versus Jonata Diniz. Pinto gets the TKO win, punches from the full mount. He was able to finish it on the ground, and he was coming in undefeated at 10-0, was able to make it to 11-0. Jonata Diniz gets the loss and moves down to 9-2. So A lot of finishes in this fight and on this card. I mean, so far to this point, we've had one decision. That was Rocha versus Nickel or Nicoli, no Nickel. But yeah, that moves us into only the second unanimous decision in all of these fights. Joel Alvarez versus Vicente Luque. It was a hard-fought win for Joel Alvarez, but he's able to get the best of Luque. They both had their moments in the fight, but Joel Alvarez is able to come up on top in the men's welterweight division, puts him at 23-3. Luque drops down to 23-12. I mean, Alvarez was doing well on the ground. I think he's the guy that had the crazy amount of submission wins. Yeah, 17-0 in submissions. So he was able to work all that to his advantage and be able to get to the unanimous decision win over Vicente Luque. Then we get to former champion Davison Figueiredo, Figgy, versus Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson was a pretty decent favorite at minus 330. Figueiredo plus 265. But everyone seemed to be counting out Figgy in this one, and he was actually able to get the win over Montel Jackson, putting the Brazilians back into the win column after 3 losses in a row on the card, starting with that featured prelim. And let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just making sure I was right about that. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 losses in a row. Second guessing myself. But yeah, Davison Figueiredo able to come back, get the win, and he looked pretty good against the younger Montel Jackson, who everybody seemed to be counting Figgy out in this fight against Montel, because Jackson's really good for his age and what he's done in the past. He's really good, but Figgy was able to show that he's a vet for a reason. He's got a lot of experience, and he's a former champion in the lower division. Montel Jackson is still yet to be finished, but this gives him his 3rd loss in the division column, and his third loss in the UFC as well. He was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak, which is most of the reason why people were counting Figgy out. Figgy didn't look so well in his last fight against Corey Sandhagen, where he got that knee injury, but Corey seemed to be dominating him. But Corey's about to fight for the title, so you got to kind of give him that one. He also lost to Petr Yan. I'm sorry, Corey just fought for the title. This is what I meant to say. And Petr Yan is about to fight for the title in December. That just got announced. Merab Dvalishvili making a quick turnaround after beating Corey Sandhagen dominantly, and makes a quick turnaround, and he's fighting again in December. So there's one of your few fights that were announced the other day by Dana White on Instagram Live. So Davison Figueiredo has lost to the former champ Petr Yan, and then the guy who just fought for the title, Corey Sandhagen. So everyone was thinking maybe Figgy doesn't have it. He came up a weight class and hasn't fared so well, but he gets the big win against the younger opponent in Montel Jackson. And we'll see what's up next for Figgy. He's keeping his name in the mix. There's not a ton of contenders that are left for Merab. That's why he's fighting Petr Yan again. And we'll see if Figgy maybe makes his way to getting a title shot at some point soon. He's always in the mix, so you can't count him out. And that brings us to the main card. Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. And Oliveira, man, he was getting counted out on this one too. Obviously, after getting knocked out just over 3 months ago versus Ilia Topuria for the title, he wanted to make the quick turnaround and get to Rio and fight in his home, in his home country in Brazil. He's a fucking superstar when it comes to Brazil. Everybody loves him there. He's a goddamn gangster. He has so much charisma, and man, just the way people love him in his country is just great. It's great to see, and I'm happy for Charles for that, and I'm happy for Charles for getting the win here as well over Gamrot, because everyone was thinking that it might be a tough time for him. He was supposed to be fighting Fiziev, who's more of a striker, and that might have been more of a concern for Oliveira, considering his chin doesn't seem to be holding up as well, and he gets hit a lot. But he was able to make it happen here against Gamrot, who's more of a grappler, wrestler type, and not as much on the striking in the way that Fiziev strikes. So Oliveira making it look good, getting the submission by rear naked choke in the second round, 2 minutes and 48 seconds in. So good for Charles Oliveira, man. I'm pretty happy for him. I hope he's able to finish out his career, because it seems like, he's not going to get too many more chances at the title. Just seeing how he recently got knocked out, he might have looked great against Gamrot, but you never know what happens with the next full-on striker that he faces, just because that chin seems to be a little more suspect these days. So, but good for Oliveira. It was a great celebration for him. He's like I said, a superstar in Brazil. He went out to the crowd, shades of Jose Aldo when he won the title, running out. I think it was the title fight that he did, but when he went running out into the crowd and jumped in, jumped in with all the fans, and making his way, it was a crazy celebration, and it was really cool to see. So I was happy for Oliveira for that. So that does it. The Brazilians were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-3. The Brazilians went. So moving into the main card, it looked like the Brazilians might get swept, and then Figgy gets the win over Montel Jackson. Oliveira gets the win over Gamrot. So they only suffered 3 losses when it comes to the Brazilians on this card. Some of the previous countrymen that were fighting in their home country, like in France and what was it, Australia, they damn near swept those cards, and everyone was wondering if that was going to happen again with this one with the Brazilians, but it did not happen. They got 3 losses out of the whole card, so they still were dominant when it came to the entire card, but it was a good night of fights, honestly. Everything that I saw, everything that I heard, everything that I read, it was a pretty good night of fights and a good card. So next up, we have UFC Vancouver, and I just want to, talk about that one for a quick second, because of the fact that I couldn't remember the name of Brendan Allen's opponent. Brendan Allen is actually a late replacement, because it was supposed to be Fluffy Hernandez versus Rainier de Ritter, RDR. And Fluffy unfortunately got injured, which sucks, because I felt like he was more of a better contender for, or a better opponent for Khamzat Chimaev. But, RDR has his talents as well, so we'll see if he can get a big win against Brendan Allen and, solidify that title shot next. Because I figured it'd be between him and Fluffy, and not Imavov and who did he fight? I can't think of everything right now, but Imavov didn't get the biggest of wins. So I think Rainier de Ritter can steal this one if he gets a big win over Brendan Allen in a impressive way. So we also have Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Again, that main card doesn't have any Canadians in it, but starting with the co-main, we got Mike Malott for the Canadians against Kevin Holland. We got Eamon Zahabi, Canadian, versus Chito Vera. That's going to be a great fight, I think. We got Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Manon Fiorot. Jasmine being the Canadian there. Cody Gibson versus Quilang Aori. And obviously no Canadians in that fight, but that should be a good one as well. We got the Canadian Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola to round out that card for the main card of UFC Vancouver. Let's look at who's in the... Oh, we also got Charles Jourdain versus David Grant. Jourdain being the Canadian there when I lost my train of thought. Bruno Silva versus Park Hyung Sung Park. Man, tough. Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Kyle Prepelic versus Drew Dober. Stephanie Luciano versus Ravana Oliveira. Azamat Bekoyev versus Yusori Baigori. And then Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. And that makes your prelim card. So UFC Fight Night, De Ritter versus Allen. That should be a good fight card too. Like I said, Look for me coming up live on maybe Friday or early Saturday even, to give a little better in-depth preview of that card, as well as any other news that has come up. Let me see if I can remember what fights were announced along with Merab versus, who was it again? Merab versus Petr Yan. Let me look real fast because it's going to bug me if I don't double check. Okay. Of course, I don't get all of them. Oh, okay, so that's December 6th. Man, why don't they have all of them here? This is so annoying. Let me look because I can just find it here. UFC 322. No, not that one. 323. Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan. Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. That's going to be two great fights at the top of that card. Then we got Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. Another great, a lot of champs and ex-champs on this card. We got Merab, the current champ, fighting Petr Yan, like I said. Pantoja, current champ, versus Joshua Van. Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. Moreno being the former champ. Former champ Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot, fighting the younger guy. That should be crazy. Jan Blachowicz fought for a title multiple times versus Bogdan Guzkov, and Nazim Sadikov versus Faraz Zahim. So pretty good main card there. And then that's all they have announced so far for that one, but that's a pretty good lineup so far. So that about does it. As far as, I hear a phone ringing, which is strange. I'm like, Anyway, that about does it. We also have Dana White's Contender Series happening tonight. That's probably on right now. So enjoy that one. We have the week 10. It's the last week of the season. We have 6 fights on this card. Vidal versus Rodriguez Jr. for the main event. Juan Il versus Diaz. Rahiki versus Malumba. Oliveira versus Valenzuela. Nuftilev versus Leka. And then Mingaj versus Schultz. So that's happening right now probably. So I will try to get a recap of that going on with the next time I go live or next time I put out a video. Till then, that's it for me because I just wanted to make this quick, little quick half hour of just recapping, a little bit of a preview, and updating you on what's going on with me. Vegas in the background. I got to get ready for our dinner and our show that we're going to go to tonight. So have a good last night with our friends before they leave, and then I'll have a couple days with my wife to have a good time to round out our trip. So I appreciate you for coming in and checking out this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, hit the notification bell as well so you know the next time I go live or drop any content. That's it for me, coming to you from Vegas. Appreciate all you guys and the support. I hope you're hanging in there with me, and I will be back to the normal show coming up here soon. So thanks again. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.